Hi, I'm Renee, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about the return from the hero's journey because a lot of us are going through a return right now, and some of us are struggling with it, feeling some uncertainty. I don't want to go back to work or travel. And there's some deep, super helpful wisdom from the hero's journey on this. This comes from Joseph Campbell, who studied stories and discovered that we kind of have one story, the story of the hero or the monomyth. And there's lots out there on this. I'm just going to run through it super quick. There's plenty to read about it. I just really want to focus today on the return. Here's the basic idea, though, of the hero's journey, that we're called on an adventure. We get help, we get gifts, we go through a process of initiation where we're tested and we gain courage and clarity and we become more of who we are. And then there's a return into fullness or wholeness or where we go back home. It's an arc, it's iterative, it's a cycle. We go through this all the time, every day, whenever there's a work project or major life event, and we go through it with our lives. And this is kind of the basic template for stories. So with the pandemic, we went through a whole cycle of the hero's journey. We were called to this adventure with the pandemic. Were initiated into new ways of being and living. The pandemic became a trickster. It was a mentor. It gave us tests. It was unfamiliar terrain. It acted this out in all kinds of ways that I'll talk about on another video. Right now, though, again, we're going to focus on the return. So the call to action, we get help, we get gifts, we go on the adventure. The process of initiation is where all kinds of crazy things happen. You meet new people, you have unfamiliar terrain, things you've never seen before. Alice is a great example of this. And then the return, coming back into some kind of wholeness or newness where there's a big battle, the Death Star gets destroyed, we claim our lineages, we receive some kind of the next level of being, or we have a gift to give to the world. So that takes us into the return. And these are some of the characteristics of the return: refusal, rescue, gifts, celebration, and so on. So I'm going to talk about these characteristics now in more depth and go into general solutions and specific strategies. So the first thing that can happen almost always in a return is that we don't want to go back. There's a refusal and lingering. And this is happening right now. And I just want you to know it's normal not to want to go back to normal or go back to anything, whether it's more people or travel or work. So the refusal is normal. So general solutions, just notice you're lingering and address it. Maybe there's a belief or an expectation to be recalibrated. Maybe you want to ask for help. Maybe you can take one step to begin implementing your return. Recognize what's got to be let go, whether it's going back to work or getting vaccinated so you can travel or see people. Just some things we have to accept and let it go. Some specific strategies. Number one, always, is take responsibility for your experience. What's going on with you is yours, and what's happening to someone else belongs to them. So we have to see where we are and own it. I'm refusing to go back. I'm feeling nervous. Whatever it is, that's mine. Do adequate grief work around what has been lost. And there's all kinds of stuff out there on grief work. And this might be really important for people to look at the grief around time lost with people, trips, whatever has been lost for you, acknowledge it as potential grief work. The re-entry visualization is really helpful. And this is where you just imagine the return. You imagine every single step of taking yourself back to work or traveling or seeing someone or whatever it is. You go through it in your mind. Super helpful technique, also called future basing. And another trick you can do is just show up for the groups you're already in, whether it's church or book groups or whatever, to take that step into the return by just showing up for the things you already have happening. There's the rescue or the escape, and this is how magic carpets got invented in the Persian stories. A lot of times we need rescued in our stories or in our life events, or there's some kind of escape happening. And general solutions, ask for help. If you need it, know who you can ask for help. We all love to be asked for help. So we need to do that. And expect that there's just going to be some weirdness. That's just part of the gig right now of the return. Specific strategy, one really helpful thing to do might be to do a resource inventory. And this is just where you make a list or you draw a map or you do it in your mind of all your resources, all the things to help and support you right now, from people, pets, practices, landscapes, activities, exercise, food, spiritual. So an inventory list is a super helpful strategy. Crossing a threshold. We have to make that drive, take that plane trip. Thresholds are super important. They kind of are an imaginary sort of border. Well, not even always imaginary. And that we get help crossing the threshold sometimes. And then when you're over it, you look back and you realize you've sort of assimilated it. So a couple tricks include and transcend. What have you learned from initiation that can be helpful now? Keep it, include it, allow it to resource you and tap into that wisdom to help cross these thresholds. Again, show up for the groups you're already in, take some walks, especially in some different places, invite some people, begin to step out into the world just in small steps, and maybe even call some people before you actually see them. Integrating your change and healing and reconciliation. So generally, we're changing, we're growing, we're in the process of transformation. So see that and leverage it for the greater good. Reconcile what was with what is. We have to reconcile and integrate patterns, beliefs that we have, systems, and structures. See what works, keep it. What needs to be adapted or adjusted for the return. Something that's happening is elders sort of losing their power and their sort of place as an elder. And this is normal in the hero's journey. We grow, we transform, we have a mentor and then we lose a mentor and we reconcile with our lineage. That's normal and one of the patterns in the hero's journey. And what's happening right now with a lot of elders is that they feel like they've lost their power. They haven't been able to be the elder, to see the children, to see the new children, to be with grandchildren. So we need to help our elders through this and this sense of loss people have with not seeing grandchildren and not being able to be the elder. So this is on all of us to help heal this. Some specific strategies: do some journaling, create some art, send loving kindness meditations toward the people you'll be seeing. May you be well, may they be healthy. Just like beginning to send goodness and goodwill out to people. I really like the morning and evening review. I do this every morning. I wake up and I think, who am I going to see today? And I send them blessings and I ask for help. And then I do kind of the same thing at bed. I review the day I had, I send gratitude, and I just sort of think about what worked, what didn't work. So the morning and evening review are really helpful strategies as we begin to integrate the changes and move into going back. Presence of a gift for the world, a new level of freedom, accepting the gift, hopefully, and celebration. So at this part of the return, it's all about, this is where I am. How can I see and leverage where I am for the greater good of the world? Because somehow there's blessings and goodness and wealth and richness and some kind of beauty to all of this. So see it and work with it. Some specific strategies: know and use your ascending practices and your descending practices. The ascending practices are the ones that bring us up and energize us, like exercise. Descending practices bring us down to relaxation. And that's been super important in the pandemic, that you may have noticed you're watching a little bit more TV at night, or you need more music, or you need more beauty, or you're saying no more. So honoring the things that relax us and bring us down, and acknowledge and express your feelings. Like, again, owning it is part of leveraging who we are. Here are some specific strategies for during and after the return. How do we handle being in the moment of the actual return? Deep breaths, remain curious. As we get back out there, instead of judging people or blaming or putting responsibility on others, notice when we get triggered, own it. Oop, that's mine. I feel uncomfortable. I feel some tension, without putting that on others. So staying curious rather than moving into judgment, and finding ways to appreciate others. Remember, we're all in this together. So giving others appreciation can help them and keep us in a sort of a positive, curious place. When you just don't have any words or any interest, or you're feeling tired or stressed, just be quiet and take in someone's presence. We don't always have to fill the space with words. We can just simply appreciate someone. When you do feel something awkward or weird or dissonant, try the 2-second pause where you just take a couple breaths and let things kind of settle before responding. And this can kind of help alleviate some tension and help us from speaking too quickly when we're uncertain. Go on some artist dates. Take yourself to somewhere beautiful and nourishing and resourceful. The artist date might be a great way to kind of get back out there and step back into it. Monitor desires for specific outcomes that maybe I'm not going to get. When you start to feel anxious, try tapping. And there's a sequence. I can't always remember it, so I just tap my chest when I can't remember. Notice when you're feeling tired and kind of not wanting to be somewhere, just disengage sooner than later rather than pushing through it. It may be that you want to check out and say goodbye or move away from a situation before you get too tired. So just notice that maybe we get more tired more easily or quickly. Be okay not understanding everything. Use the cleanup. Sometimes when we're under stress, we don't know exactly what we want to say and we don't quite do it how we intended to. So, and then you know it, like, oh, I could have done that better. So I love the cleanup. That's when the next day or the next hour or whenever you call that person or you look across the room to them and you say, hey, that conversation just now or yesterday, it wasn't quite what I meant. And then you clean it up. Super, super cool strategy. Fully experience and own all the hugs. Celebration. All right, good luck. Here's my website, reneesilvas.com. If you want some more help and strategies, I've got a few blogs on this. And good luck, and I'll see you out there.